All right, so we are going to be doing something completely different. So thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. But we are now calling this the Intentional CEO Podcast. Yes, the Intentional CEO Podcast. Because what Tom and I really have been able to do over the last 4 years of working together is take people from being an accidental CEO into now being an intentional CEO, being in control of their life and their business, allowing themselves to truly enjoy everything they do. And why do they do this? It's because they've taken it seriously. Once people take things very seriously, though, they tend to get stuck because they want to do everything themselves. And that's really the difference between being accidental and being intentional. So, what we've been able to do over the past 4 years with the knowledge from 4 decades of our experiences is have people get the ability to have what's called agency. What this allows for them to do is have this freedom, this capacity to make decisions and take actions that will lead them to all these things that they've wanted to do. But that's not good enough. What you also have to have is this knowing of why you're making these decisions. You have to have this belief. And that's truly the special sauce in what we do is connecting this agency to this power of confidence of knowing why you're making every single decision and being able to execute on them. That's really the beauty of it. Now, what we're going to do here in this podcast is Tom and I use AI. Whoa, don't all of you? Okay. So what we use AI for is as an actual employee, we put all of our notes with our clients. We take pages and pages and pages of notes. It's really important for Tom and I to be in the know of what the clients are doing and recall that and remember that. So many of the times we will upload those notes to keep a file on our clients to summarize things so we can quickly recall them. In addition to that, when we're doing our workshops, when we're creating our landing pages, we're putting in our messaging of our core beliefs, our signature stories, what we really came from, why we started this company. So we have had AI really store all of this in its memory intentionally so we can utilize it as an employee in our business. So what we'll be doing in this podcast is we have already went in and asked it to give us questions to ask each other, which are relevant for you, the watcher. And that's really what this is all about. We don't want to pat ourselves in the back and tell everybody what a great job and who we are and what we do and all these things. We want you to be able to have an inside look, behind the scenes look of what we do each and every day for our clients and even in our own businesses. So you too, just by watching this, can move from an accidental CEO to an intentional CEO and live a life worth living and have a business worth owning. That's truly what this is all about. All right, Tom. So let's kick it off. This is going to be interesting. It's our first rodeo doing this. So
Yep.
you're going to be
So
asking me
bear with
questions that the
us.
assistant came up with. All right, let's go.
I feel like we should name our assistant. We didn't name our
Ah,
assistant. We should give
Gary. Fucking Gary.
Gary. Gary. I like Gary. All right, Gary. So here's one of what Gary tossed over to us, Adam. So, all right. So let's start here. So one of the questions that came up when we were working with Gary was, the idea of bottlenecks, and it made me think of our shifts in our businesses. And when did you realize that you were you were the thing slowing down your business? Walk me through that. When you realized you were being the one slowing down your business.
Yeah, I have been a bottleneck in my own business so many times. I've owned multiple businesses, and the struggle has always been for me of like, okay, I know these things have to get done. And either I don't have the competency, I don't really know how to do this yet, or I don't have the finances to go hire somebody to do that. So what do? I typically take it all on my own shoulders and I'll figure it out. We'll go to YouTube University, we'll read books, we'll do all of these things to then just do the work. What happens in that instance is I really just end up getting in the way of the work getting done. And more importantly, the things that were already going really, really well. And that's been a struggle of thinking as being a self-employed person trying to run a business that, all right, I have to take all this on and do it. While you may need to in the beginning, you don't have to forever. You can certainly figure things out and then deploy them to different assets, whether that be systems that you will use or vendors that you will hire or eventually employees that work for you and do these things. But the number one problem I've had being the bottleneck is just trying to do it all on my own. That's really it, pal.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Makes a lot
So,
of
all right.
sense.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. So let's see what Gary, our assistant, tossed over to us for you. Tom, when did you first realize when you were running your business like an accidental CEO? Was there like a moment that hit you in the face or?
Hmm. I think the moment that it hit me in the face that I was running my business like an accidental CEO was when I realized it wasn't just about the clients I was seeing as a coach. This goes back to like when I first started my first business. I think you go into it and you think that you're gonna just, you're just gonna make money and you're gonna do the thing, right? You're gonna sell your service. You're gonna just have to do that. But what you don't realize, and this I didn't realize, is when you sell your service, you have to have something to offer. So you got to develop an offer, and you got to develop the whole infrastructure to support that offer, and you have to do the onboarding of the client, and you have to figure out the finances of your business, and you have to create the culture of what you're trying to convey as a business. And when you realize you have to do all of these things, and I'm purposely saying when you realize you have to do all of these things, is because in the beginning, when you're an accidental CEO, it's just you by yourself. You don't have a team, you don't have employees, you don't have an AI assistant. Even with when we started our business 4 years ago, we didn't really have AI. We didn't have that to help us. And now we have Gary as an employee, which is kind of awesome. But you think about it, it's when you start to feel like you're taking everything on, that's when it really hit me that, "Holy shit, I have to be a CEO," and I didn't get here intentionally, I got here on by accident, and that's what really created me as an accidental CEO at that very moment, realizing that I had to do all these different things. And then I read that book, Who Not How, by Dan Sullivan, that we recommend to a lot of people, and it's really good for all entrepreneurs. And that really opened my eyes to saying, okay, I don't have to do all of this stuff. I can start to give certain things to people and hire people. And I didn't have to hire people full time. And that's when I started to really morph more into an intentional CEO, was being intentional with how much time I needed from other people to help me run the business.
Nice, pal. Good stuff.
All right, let's see what we got next from Gary for you, Adam. Alright, you have been talking about this a lot lately, how confidence isn't the goal, certainty is, right? We talk about certainty. Can you explain what that means from someone trying to lead a business day to day? What is that about?
Mm. Yeah, that is definitely been a topic of discussion a lot lately for myself and for our clients. And it's like, everybody, you wouldn't be in business if you didn't have confidence, right? And the ability to move through confidence and have this certainty in what you're doing is the differentiator that allows you to have success, because confidence takes you to a certain point. It gets you started, and you really do. You need something to get started, and whether it's motivation or that confidence that you have. But in order to continue day in and day out, at least for me, it's been certainty of the path forward, of like, okay, I know why I am doing all these things for the end goal. And I know how I'm going to do these things. Whether or not I'll be good at them is a whole nother story, but I know what to do next. And that's where most people get lost in kind of this perpetual thinking or researching mode. Is they're looking for the certainty. But many times, at least for me, certainty has just been gained through action taking. And it's like when I take those actions, yeah, I fail a lot, but through those failures, I learn what I'm certain to maybe not do or what I'm certain to maybe look into further. So, yeah, I mean, confidence is a wonderful thing, but certainty is what drives you forward to the end result that we're all looking for.
Awesome, man. It's amazing the difference.
All right. So, what we're going to have to do here, Tommy, is you're going to have to figure out a segue back to me. So,
Exactly. All right. So Adam, so what's next from Gary for me, man?
so you always talk about moving from chaos to clarity. Like it's been a big theme of what you have even taught me. So can you share maybe a time in your life or even your business when it felt like just total chaos, and like what structure or what shift finally brought some order to it for you?
Yeah. So, what brought structure and order to my chaos?
Yeah, and how did that
You know,
chaos move you to like how did you go from the chaos to clarity?
to how did okay? So, chaos to clarity through structure or a shift, and okay, that makes sense. So, I think anytime you start something new, you can live a very chaotic existence. I think anytime when you become a business owner, when you have a new situation in your life as a father, as a husband, I think there's so many different points that you could talk about. I'm going to talk about my current situation with baseball recruiting because that's the thing. So, right, that's the my other obsession, my other full time job that I'm doing right now is helping my son to, get into college and play baseball at a college level. And I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I have no idea. When he said he wants to do this, I was like, okay, I have no idea. And I needed to gain a sense of clarity around, all right, what's the objective here? And then what do we need to do? And that's where the structure comes into play. Like, so I learned that, and I spoke to experts, and this is what starts to create that clarity when you're in the middle of chaos is go to people who have been through it before. Talk to other in business, talk to other business owners that started their business from nothing. We've all been at that point of chaos, and we've all learned that you need to put certain things in place and put structure in place in order to give you more clarity, because it's through the structure that you really gain the clarity. A lot of people think that structure is restrictive, but it's not restrictive. It allows you to see things more clearly because you're working within a construct, right? So I spoke to experts. I've learned the best thing to do is to go to camps and showcases. Play baseball when you can play regular games, but the real thing is to go to college campuses, go to their camps, go to their showcases, and demonstrate your skill in front of the coaches that are going to make the decision whether or not they want you to come and play there. So everything that I do now is structured around emailing coaches, finding camps, and making plans to go to those camps so that my son could be exposed to that coaching staff. And that has given us a lot of clarity around the type of school he wants to go to. Because by visiting those schools and by going through this process, we're seeing what we don't like and what we do like. And that's what structure should do to bring clarity. It should help you emphasize the things that you really want done and the things that need to get done in order to get to what your goal really is. So the goal is to get into college baseball, but the structure that's supporting that is doing these visitations and going through that process and having a checklist. And this is what always brings me clarity is having that checklist in your business. You have to know what you need to do today to get you to the next thing that gets you closer to your vision. And sometimes it is the form of a checklist. Like, I got to take this step. And once I take this step, then I can go take the next step. And that's kind of the structure that I've learned is that it's a step by step process. Everything that we do is step by step. And if you keep taking that next step, you get closer to your goal. And that with each step, you gain more clarity because you are using a structure to get rid of the chaos and the noise, and you're focusing on that one thing. That next step is the focus. You need to focus in order to move forward. So I think that was a long winded answer, but it's a good question from Gary. Gary's
No, I
pretty
mean
smart,
it's a
man.
great answer. I mean, our editors Connor and Sam, good luck turning that into a clip. But very good answer. I appreciate it. All right, what's up next?
All right. So this one hit me when it came through on our notes because of what we see all the time. Founders trying to grow with the same mindset that they had when they started. What's the risk of that? Why does it stop working? Like, they go into it with one mindset and then they try to keep that mindset. Why doesn't that work for people?
Yeah, man. There's levels to the game of business, and what allowed you to get to the point of success that you're at now never allows you to get where you want to go, right? It absolutely will not. You can maintain it and you can have that level of success, but if you're really striving for more, you have to realize like you only have a certain capacity that you have gained to this point. You're going to need to either gain new skills or you're going to have to spend money to bring in people that have those skills. And a lot of the problems that I've always had with this, personally, is like, what do you think is the biggest problem we've had with it personally, Tom?
With the mindset
Yeah.
is that you have to constantly evolve it, and if you don't evolve it, you get stuck.
Right. So that is the point, is if you're not consistently evolving to the next level, you will stay where you're at. So I'll give you a quick example. When you are trying to make up to $500,000, there's certain skill sets that it takes to really do that, right? It's basically sales, right? It's sales and then take care of your clients. If you want to get to that million, there's a few more things that you have to do. You may need to really build out branding and marketing and all these other things. And if you're doing it all on your own, do you have the time plus the competency to do all the things that are necessary to grow beyond that? And for most of us, the answer is no. And don't feel bad about that. You're not supposed to be able to do everything. You're supposed to be able to do a few things extremely well. So it's finding out what's the lane that you should be in and doing a lot less, but doing those things much, much better. And then getting the assistance to do the rest, or just saying, like, I'm settling on this is good enough.
Wow, that's pretty good.
All right, let's see what Gary has for you, Tom. All right, here we go. So, one of the things that we help clients do is like reconnect with who they really are, right? And not just what they do, right? It's more who they are, not just what they do. So, here's the question they have for you. How did your identity as a leader shift once you started leading intentionally instead of reactively?
Hmm. I this is a great question. Acting intentionally in leading instead of being reactive, right? So it's kind of interesting that the question comes up in the business context, but I'm going to go back to my roots when I was in leadership and in corporate space, because that's really where I was able to take what I did as a leader there and bring it to what I do every day in business. And leadership is not something that you could really teach people. You teach people to try to act like leaders and be intentional about what they are doing. But if you don't know and you don't hone your skill as a leader and recognize that being a leader is a way of living, then you're going to struggle. And that's what I realized very early in my VP experience, my corporate experience, then as a chief is that my job as a leader was to develop the people that worked for me and with me, because I made that intention that if I could develop other people around me, I would become a better leader and they would become better leaders. And that was one of the shifts that really occurred very early on in my career is I read this in a book. I read this in one of John Maxwell's books. Like, I was learning how to be a better leader and I read one of his books. But the goal was to determine what did you want to accomplish as that leader. And a lot of people that are leaders, your goal is to set the vision for your company. And if you have employees, they're going to follow what vision you set for your company. But you have to remember as a leader that you have to also develop them. And by developing them, you have to allow them to provide input to you. You have to hear their experiences and hear how what you are deciding on the road to your vision is impacting them. You have to understand what they're going through so that you can make the tweaks and do the things better so that that you can lead them better. And a leader is not about saying follow me all the time. It's not about saying listen to me. Being a leader sometimes is saying I got to listen to them and I got to listen to the people that I am trying to develop here. And that's what I started to do both in corporate and what we have done even together as partners, Adam. I mean, it's listening to you. It's but it's also you listening to me, and we listen to each other. And I think when you listen, that is the best form of leadership that you can have in any company. When you don't listen, That's when you drive your company as a leader into the toilet. You have to listen and you have to understand when something is happening that you may have not expected to happen. And that's only going to come by putting the ear to the ground and listening to what people are actually saying and listening to what, if it's just you gotta listen to what your intuition is saying and tap into that and recognize that your intuition is where your inherent leadership skill is going to come from, but you've got to listen to it. So leadership really for me is about listening to what's happening in the environment that I'm working in and who I'm working with.
There's even something of Jeff Bezos who's like, he always wants to be the last one to speak because he wants to listen to what everybody else had to say first. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
cool.
interesting. Yep. All right. You can always tell when a client is actually ready to shift from accidental to intentional. You're really good at spotting this. What are the signs that you see? Like, what makes you go, yep, this person is finally ready? And I think I know what the answer is going to be. And it might be our new book that's going to come out sometime in this year or early next year.
Yeah, there's this moment when I can always see that someone is ready to actually take on the CEO role in both their life and their business. And we call that going from an accidental CEO to an intentional CEO. And that moment is when they take something serious. It's literally just something. It doesn't have to be they want to make more money or they want to get in better shape or they want to spend more time with their kids or they're finally going to hire the employee, whatever it is. It's when they take something serious. And the reason why is every one of our clients, we tell them this, it's success always in all ways. How you do one thing is how you'll do everything. And if you can grab a hold of whatever it is you've decided to today to take serious, we can parlay that into every other area of your life and your business. And you can do that. You just have to realize what it takes to be serious in all those different modalities and all those different skill sets and the way that you live, the way that you run your business. But that is a key moment. So if you are taking anything seriously right now, see how you can take what you're doing here and move it over to all the other places that you just wish you could be serious at, or come to one of our workshops. We help people do that there.
All right, cool, man. It's true. It's success in all ways. Always, like, if you don't embrace that mindset, you get lost and you create a complete lack of clarity for yourself.
All right, so I got something for you. What's something that you used to be obsessed with in your business that actually kept you stuck? And how did letting go of that help you grow?
I am a recovering perfectionist. So the thing that used to get me stuck in my own way that I was obsessed with was making everything perfect. And that's the thing. When you start out in your business, you wanna make things perfect. You want your offer to be perfect, you want the flyer, the website, or everything to be perfect. You want your business card to be perfect. You want all of these tangible things to be perfect so that you can convey who you are in the most professional way, and a lot of people mistake professionalism with perfectionism. And in order to grow, I had to let go of that perfectionism. I had to stop saying this has got to be perfect and just start saying it's got to be good enough. Does it get the job done? Does it look professional enough? Does because the perfection will create stagnation. The perfection will create procrastination. The perfection, and it did all of those things in the business, especially when I was running my first business. I was so obsessed with how good the brochure looked. I made this great brochure, and you know how many people I gave it to? Nobody, because no one was using brochures. So it just it put me in the wrong place. And we do this today. Like, I still get caught in this today. When we're building an automation or we're building a new landing page, it's got to be perfect, and we want it to be perfect. But the key is it doesn't have to be perfect. It has to convey the right message. It has to convey the thing that you're trying to say. And as long as it does that, then you can keep moving forward and you can allow yourself to grow. If you don't do that, then you get stuck.
Nobody wants to be stuck.
Nope. All right. So this one's personable for both of us. How do you think creating harmony between how do you think about creating harmony between business and life? Especially with everyone, we're building and juggling, how do you create that business life harmony?
Work-life balance is complete bullshit, but here's why. It's not that it's bullshit for you or bullshit for them. It's bullshit for me. And you have to make this decision that you're not going to compete your work versus your life. You're going to build this harmony in between those two things. My partner and I have been so lucky to have the ability to really be great parents and be great husbands and be great friends. But we had to have the ability to choose that. And even like today, we had a client meeting scheduled for 5:30 and my son needed me to go excuse me, needed me to go to a moving up thing with going to varsity football. He's in ninth grade and he's asked there and I have to go there at 5:30, same time I'm meeting with the client. That's more important to me than making the money, running the business, doing those things. Well, I can compromise on certain things each day. But that's what it means is you're very pliable. You have the ability to move throughout your day with what you need today. It's not what everybody else needs. Yes, we're serving clients and I have to take care of my kids and I got to go to the gym for myself. But it's allowing to do all of these things that's going to allow you to be the best you. So when you show up for all of them, you are on top of it 100% of the time. And that's the difference between having harmony versus having this work life balance. There's no like scale here. It's today I need this and tomorrow I need that. And that is the true gift that I've been given. And now that, through atomic business coaching and our intentional CEO system, we're able to show other people and have them live that life as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. The scale. There is no scale. You're not trying to outweigh one thing or the other. You get rid of the scale. That's how you get to the harmony.
So, we've been working with a lot of burned out CEOs right now and business owners lately. So, could you walk us through a moment when you were burned out and what mindset shift like helped you get back your harmony or if you've seen that in one of our clients? Like so really like when you were burned out and how did you shift that mindset to get back to this harmony?
Yeah, so when I was burnt out and how I got back into a mindset of harmony, it was when I decided to quit corporate America and start a business because I took back control of my destiny. I recognized that I did no longer have to listen to other people to be successful. That I wasn't when I was burnt out, I was working so many hours. I was doing so many things that were not good for me. I wasn't healthy, wasn't spending time with my family. And my mindset was at that point was work, 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 because if you work, you can provide for your family. And I needed to shift to it's not work, 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 and you can provide for your family. It's take care of yourself and you can provide for your family. And that's what I did at that moment is I decided to take care of myself. I decided to stop doing that corporate job. I left that job, quit another job, and just said, forget it. I'm going to start my own thing. And that's what really catapulted me into this harmony and recognizing that I don't have to work like a dog and do all these crazy things that I was doing, and that I could actually when I could actually dictate what my schedule looked like, what my life looked like, when I recognized I can control all of that, that's what allowed me to become a better father and a better husband and to really put things into perspective for the rest of my life. And that's when I got rid of that scale that we were just talking about, getting rid of that balance scale and really focusing on what's harmony. Go spend time with your kids, block it off. Spend time with your wife, block it off. Go do your work, block that off on your calendar and give everything its space. And when you give everything its space, you don't have to worry about balancing it. All right, my friend. So this is the last one for you today, Adam. All right, so let's talk about why we really built the intentional CEO system.
Mhm.
What were we seeing and either in ourselves or our clients that made us say, "Yeah, this has to be to existence. This has to exist."
This may sound woo woo, but we were really called to create the intentional CEO system. And it comes from a phrase you've probably seen me make in comments or say out loud is business is simple, it's just not easy. And there's been so many times I've watched other people complicate being a business owner. And it's gonna be so damn hard to run a business. Every aspect of it is ridiculously hard. And if you start overcomplicating these things, like it becomes impossible. Okay, you just can't do them. So the intentional CEO system is really there to start simplifying things so you have an intention behind what you're doing and why you're doing it each and every day. And I've just felt like I had to give this back to the world. Everything I've ever done in business seems like it was always built for others, not for me. The funny thing is, everything I built for others ended up helping me too. Like I use my own systems. Every business I've ever had, I have been my best client. And that is the key to this thing, man, is that when you start choosing you, and I'm saying I'm intentional about what I'm doing, it's just endless greatness every single day. But that's the key is business is simple. It's just not easy. Life is simple. It's just not easy. If you can just drive down that track with intentionality, the sky truly is the limit for you.
That's amazing. That's true. Intention sets the pace.
All right, pal. So, we came up with this signature story, right?
Mm.
So, we've been using this signature story, but what is a story from your journey that really captures what it means to go from overwhelmed and overworked to structured and successful?
Story from my journey going from overwhelmed and overworked to structured and successful. It was during a period of transition. So when I first started my business, I was looking for ways to help people with their overwhelm and their overworking, and I needed to put some kind of structure in my life and a lot of my clients at the time, because like we say, we often reflect our clients often reflect what we ourselves need at that point in time. And everybody was very chaotic and very overwhelmed by all the things that they had to do, and life that they and just living life. Life became overwhelming for a lot. And I was overwhelmed at the time too when I first started my first business. And then I picked up this book called Attention Management, and that changed everything. And that has changed everything that we have done. It is what's changed everything for our clients and how they look at utilizing their attention by being intentional of where that attention is going to be directed. Attention management is the game changer. That is the structure of my life. I'm very intentional with where I direct my attention. I don't worry. I used to be such a time hog and so worried about time and not having enough time and all this. And I I can I can honestly say in the last year I have not said I just need more time. I've said it's a matter of time at points, but I've never said I needed more, because with attention management, I have learned how to manage my attention, and I've actually gotten more time back into my life. And that was probably the most pivotal time, was when I picked up that book and read that and then provided my clients with that information, providing now our clients with that information. And that is the game changer for me and has been. And we've adapted the attention management for what we interpret it to be. And ever since we adapted it to the way we look at it, it has helped us to be that much more successful. And success in terms of how we are utilizing the time that we have, because we're so focused on the intention of our attention. So I don't know if that was such a great story, but it's a story of when it changed my life.
Nice, brother. Hopefully, this went well for you listening. We do have some beautiful things to give to you for free. So go to be the CEO. Yes, that is a weird URL, but we like it. Be the CEO. That's what we want you to be. So go to be the CEO and see all the amazing things that we are truly giving to you so you can be an intentional CEO, so you could be the CEO of both your life and your business. Go there, check it out. There's a lot of stuff for you there. And if you need anything else from us, follow us on LinkedIn. You can ask us questions directly there. We do not delegate any of that engagement to anybody else. It is Adam, it is Tom when we are there. So thanks again for listening, and be the CEO.